first of all, I'll just start by going through this menu on the left and the basics. So the top bit, which is your account, which everybody will have, whether you're a teacher or an admin, has just got basic information. So you've got your avatar, which you can then create and make your own. You've got your details, which you can chop and change if needed. And I spoke to somebody that needed to change their email address today, and this is where you would do that. And your display name. Your display name is usually, depending on how you want to do it, different to your real name. And we do this for pupils just to keep their anonymity when they are on leagues, because leagues can be viewed outside of school. They also might want to play a Hive game or a different type of game with another friend outside of school who might not be in their same school. So we do that just to keep pupils anonymous. That's where you can change your password, and then you can find some user guides there, although we've also got a lot more on our Facebook page as well. I'm going to start by going down and going to just what admins will see. Now, admins will have a teachers page, which is how they will link other teachers. The easiest way to do this is to generate a school joining code, which will come up there. And teachers can just go to edshed.com and copy and paste the school joining code in the box that comes up when they create an account. There's a box for them to paste it in there. You can also add them manually. This way, it just takes a little bit longer. The other thing that's quite important on this page is whether you want certain teachers to have admin access or not. So you can click yes or no as to whether you want them to have admin access, or as well as if teachers leave the school, you might want them to be deleted from your account. If you go to settings, this is where you have the option to change your address as well as your billing address. Your billing address is where invoices will be sent. It's where renewal information and just different notifications if your subscription is going to run out to be sent. So that contact's really important that it's the right person. And then your billing address. In options, there are a few different important things here. You can turn the leagues off here, which I know some teachers like to do. You can also manage your cards, and if for any reason you need to, you can delete all pupils and all groups. If you sync with Wonde, which is the next thing that I'll go through in a minute, there is also a sync with Wonde button that does appear here for a manual sync, which you might need to do at the beginning of a school year. And then finally, you've got an activity log, which just shows all the users, the different activities they've done. This can be quite handy if for any reason you think something has disappeared, or I had the other day a whole school's worth of children, their accounts were, their passwords, oh, I've got someone in the waiting room, their passwords were changed. And here I was able to search which event it was and be able to see what had done or like what had happened. So that's quite a useful tool there just to have for admins. Now, subscription, which is also an admin only tool. You can see the subscriptions that I've got here and when they're auto renewing, how many pupils they're for. And if I click on details, this is where admins will be able to find the invoice or edit a purchase order number. You can also see here, which is the next thing I'll go through, is the amount of seats in use. This just means I've purchased 36 pupil licenses because all teachers are for free, so you need to purchase pupil licenses. And I've only used 14 out of 36 of those, so you can easily see that there. If you wanted to create a new subscription, you would just go to add new and then choose what you needed. So maybe it's a literacy shed that I haven't got, which is priced per class there. The other useful thing you can do in the subscription section is if you realise you don't have enough pupil licenses, you simply click upgrade and you can add your pupils there. So I've got 36 at the moment. Maybe I want to add 5 more to make it 41. And it will give you a summary there and you can pay by invoice. Okay, so those are the main admin tools. Now, if I just go to where you find the resources, because I know this is another thing that's changed this week. Resources are now located at the bottom with a drop-down menu. So we've got QuizShed, we've got Spelling Shed, where we've got the different spelling lists, our scheme and our SPAG scheme. We've also got MathShed with their resources, and then of course our Literacy Shed resources. Okay, so I'm going to start by all of our pupils page. Now this is another admin tool. Only admins will be able to see all pupils. The other teachers won't have this on their menu. So the main thing that is useful here is to allocate pupil licenses to the subscriptions that you've purchased. So if I just click across here, show licenses, you can see my pupils have all got Maths and Spelling Shed. You can also filter them or group them. So they're just grouped by class if I click on those. Or maybe you want to do it alphabetically with their first name. So the way you do this, let me delete one from here. Revoke license just means deleting it. Now here, because I've got a pupil that doesn't have something, it's come up with this blue banner. And you can either assign your licenses to all, so you know that they've been assigned to all your pupils, or you can click down the side and add them that way. This information is quite useful because it says I've got I've only got 14 pupils on my test school account at the moment. I've got 1 out of 14 pupils that doesn't have a maths license, and I've got 37 available seats. So I've got 37 extra licenses that I'm not using at the moment. To give Daffy Duck his license back, we just click next to him and then give.
Can I just ask, Harris, the license, when you say that, what does that mean? Does that mean they can play on the game? They've got access to the game?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's just a different way we've changed our subscriptions, because before you could only have the same amount of pupils for Maths and Spelling Shed, whereas now you can choose how many you want for Maths and Spelling Shed. They can be different pupils, which is quite useful. So this one now, if you click on there and then you can click assign and it will be assigned. And it's also just a way that you can see all the pupils in your school. You can download all the pupil logins, and then you can add pupils. Now, this is the next thing. So you can add pupils in 3 different ways. You can add them just manually, or just pupil by pupil, which you'd have to do and be quite time consuming if you've got a lot. The other most popular way is to do it through a CSV file, and you can download a sample from here, which will give you some headings. Now, you do not need to populate all of the headings. Oh, hang on. Sorry, you don't need to populate all of the headings. It comes up with the name and group and UPN, display name, username, password. You don't need to do all of those. The required columns are the name, or you can do full name and surname, but it doesn't really matter. The other thing we recommend is also inputting a class or group. Maybe you want it to show all the year 1s together, or the year 2s, or maybe you've got different class names. I had one with like squirrels and hedgehogs the other day. So once you've done the name, the group, and you can also have UPN number if you want to, leave the other headings blank, and then you'll drop them there to upload. So if you click on that, that will then go into your files on your computer and you'll upload them there. The reason we keep the others blank is because usernames have to be unique to each user on the system. So if we keep them blank, they'll just generate those automatically for you, rather than you creating ones that then already exist and having to go back and forth. So that's the easiest way. And then the third way was to connect through Wonde, which was the bit on the home page at the bottom. If you click request connection, they'll then contact us, we'll then connect you, and then a sync will happen and all the pupils and teachers will be moved across. So the next thing is going to groups. Now, teachers have this page. If you've then done a CSV upload and you've put your classes in there, this will automatically appear, but it's quite easy to add a group anyway. If I click add group, because I know a lot of teachers also like to have groups within their class. They might have different spelling groups and it just makes it easier to allocate the spellings. So if I just make one up. And then I've added myself as a teacher. and click on details. Then you can add the pupils there. This is also another quick way to give licenses to a certain amount of groups. So if I just click add some pupils there, and they've been added to that group. You can also add other teachers. And this is your group page. So you'll see the amount of gameplay is done by this specific group. You'll be able to see the teachers, which you can also see there. And you can also see the assignments that are set for your group, which we'll go through in a minute. Because I'm an admin, I also have this slider, so I can see other people, other teachers in my school, their assignments as well. And then you can also see spelling data for this group, which comes up as words spelled in the last 7 days by the pupils in your group. This was a test pupil that I just played as before. So we'd have some more interesting things to look at, as well as maths data that will come up just from the things that your pupils have been doing. The other thing that you can see are the scores. You've got the spelling shed score, maths, and you can go and you can look at the activity. So you can see how many games the pupils have played if they've logged on. And you can also see their licenses. So they're quite useful there, just to see it as sort of a group first snapshot. Okay, right, so next we'll go to, I'm going to go down to spelling shed and I'm going to show you the spelling lists. Now the spelling lists, we've got our own spelling scheme, which are on here, and you can use the drop down. The stages are the same as the year groups to have a look at those. With these younger ones, when they've got the green phonics word next to them, that just means that when you assign a specific phonics word list like that, they are sounded out in the game. Instead of letter names, the phonemes are on tiles and the graphemes are together and they're sounded out rather than the letter names, which is quite useful. You can also set a phonics list, but have letter names if you want to. There are 2 options, so you can have them sounded out or not. You've also got your lists, which are ones you can create yourself, which I'll show you how to do. And also favorites, which I'll show you also next, which is how you can share lists you've made. So if we create a list, we just go to create list, add a title. Maybe you want to have some sort of topic words or science words. This is the phonics, whether you want them to be sounded out or not. And then we can just put them underneath here. Thinking of some random words to do with Christmas. And then click save, and they will all be there. So this is my Christmas word list. They're all there. It then shortcuts you to do other things with them.
Sorry, Caris, what did you say? Is it create Hive or create list? Where did you say that? Create
list. So that was, if we go right back so you can see it.
Sorry.
It's okay. Spelling lists.
Oh, that, right, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, thank you.
That's all right. Mine is now going to be in your lists. So these are all ones that I've made. I made that Christmas one just now. There it is. So I was on that bit. I've just clicked details next to it and I can do a few things from here. I'm not going to do those because I want to show you how to, I think it might just be confusing. So I'm just going to go back to our spelling lists page. And then go to favorite lists. This is how you can share lists with other teachers. So maybe you've made a list to do with your topic and you want to share it with the other year 4 teacher, for example, so they don't have to make their own. I'm going to go to my Christmas list. I'm going to click details. I'm going to click set favorite. And then I can set it as a favorite for pupils or teachers. For pupils, that just means that it's a list that appears on their account that they can practice if they want to. I'm going to click teachers and then I can send it to all teachers or choose the exact teachers that I want to send it to and share it. So favorite is just another way of sharing them, really. Okay, once you've done that, I'm going to now go to assignments. Now, assignments are the main thing that teachers that use our website use all the time. So they're just a way of setting personalised spellings for pupils. Teachers will see this exactly the same, they just won't have the slide button. Admins can see all assignments in the whole school, so I can see them too there that are set by other teachers. You've also got whether any are coming in the future, whether they're pending, whether they're expired, or whether they're an assignment set. So you can set assignments 2 ways. If you click create, first of all, I'll do a single assignment. So that's just a one-off assignment that you've set for a certain amount of time. So I'll click that. You can put in your title here. I'll just call it homework. When you want it to start, so it can be in the future, maybe you want to set it Friday to Friday. I'm just going to set it today. When you want it to end, I'll set it to Friday. And then this is where you then choose your list from. Now you can see here, I don't know what subscriptions everyone has, but this you can also do for MathShed, and it's exactly the same. So if you want to do spelling list, you'll say here, you'll choose your stage, and then you'll choose your list. Or you can choose your own list that you've made from there. There's the Christmas one I made before. You can also choose from your favorite lists. So if a teacher has shared one with you, you can then choose from there. If you want to also do this, if you have MathShed, you click on Maths. You can do 2 different ways of this as well. So we've got the fluency type questions. So we've got times tables, those sorts of mental math skills, which you can do here. So they're number bonds, you click times tables, it'll then give you the drop down for those, and so on. The other things that are really useful that I know teachers use, if you use our scheme of work, which follows White Rose, we have quizzes to go with most of our lesson PowerPoints, including end of block quizzes. So these are really easy to find if you click on quiz, the year that you've taught, the lesson that you've taught. There we go, lesson 2, and then just click select. That will select that specific quiz. So you just go through the year group and the term and then the block you're on in the lesson, and you can do those. So that's for maths. In both of them, or is it just in spelling? Just in spelling, you have got this box here which says games required. This means this is the amount of games you want the pupils to play. They've got this slide down here that says limit lists. This means if you slide this across, the pupils will only be able to access this list until they have played the amount of games required. So if for no limit, you'll only just let them have this list until it expires on the 11th of December. Or I would put something like 5 in, and they have to play 5 games before sort of the rest of the list screen is unlocked and they can access the other things. They can still access the assignment after that in the assignment section, but this forces them that they cannot go on another list until that's done. And then you just click save. Oh, task required. I haven't actually clicked anything yet. Click. And then you need to allocate your pupils. Now be careful because you see all pupils here now. You'll have to go to your class or your spelling group. And then you can either click all, or you might want to unclick and just do certain pupils. And then the other thing we have here is this slider called track group. So pupils, this just means that pupils will be automatically added or removed from the assignment when the group changes. So for instance, if Postman Pat moved up a spelling group, so he was taken out of this spelling group and moved into spelling group 2, he then wouldn't have this assignment on his account, but he would have spelling group 2's assignment on his account. So it automatically changes them without you having to do that manually if you do that. And then you'll see that green saved sign, and that will appear here. Mine is appearing here because it's current. Maybe yours is in the future, so it might be in pending. And if I click details, I can see all the pupils that are attached to that assignment. So if for some reason your pupil can't see your assignment, click on details next to it, and there you'll be able to see if they are actually attached to it or not. Now here, We have lots of information once they've started playing of their assignment status they get, the correct, how many they have correct, the difficulty, because they can choose their own difficulty. And I'll show you that at the end when we go through the pupil view, and the score they've got. So the statuses, lots of schools give out different awards for these. And we think these are really important because as long as they've got a word list that's at their level, any ability pupil can reach the highest status, which is a soldier bee, which is, oh no, royal bee, sorry, down here. Now, they can do this through either doing lots and lots of easy games, or you've also got extreme levels are obviously worth more points. And the more they get right, obviously the more points they get. But it is for the most recent 5 games that it's shown on there. So that's how they get all the different things. And that's really useful just to quickly look back to in case a pupil says that their status hasn't changed for a long time. It's quite a good way to look and see what they need to do. Then from here, you can then view pupil. I'm going to go on an assignment that I played as a pupil earlier. There we go. Just so you can see a bit more information. This is a pupil profile. You can go on this through an assignment, or you can click on a pupil in your group. It will have their password that you can then click the I button and you'll be able to see it as text. You can print their individual login details. And here is their display name. So that's what will appear on in a league if you're playing as this person, which you can also change by clicking this edit button there. You can also reset their password up here and edit any other information there. You can see all the different scores here. You've got their highest score, their total score for all the different products. And if we scroll down, you can see their assignments they've got. You can add if you want to. They earn Honeypots, which is what they buy avatar things from to make your avatar nice and colourful. You can, if you want to, give them extra Honeypots manually as a teacher this way. You can also find them and take Honeypots away this way. You don't have to, but it's just an extra thing if you want to. And down here will show what they've done with their Honeypots. So it will show what they've spent them on, which can be quite useful if they're saying that their Honeypots have suddenly gone for some reason. You can go and have a look at what they've been spent on here. And then we've got licenses and their groups. The other thing that's really useful is you've got spelling data and maths data. So here I've got the one I played earlier, words spelled in the last 7 days. So I'm going to show you how to create a personalised list of the words they've spelled incorrectly. I can see what how they've spelled them and the ones they've got wrong. So I'm going to click on those 3 because they're not getting those right. I've only played 1 game, but there could be lots, and it'll be almost look like a big table of ticks of green and red. So once I've ticked the words that I want them to play again, I'm going to click create list. Now this, I think, was my demo pupil Daffy Duck. I advise that you put their name here because this is just going to end up on your lists in the list. So you're not going to know whose it's from. So I'm just going to call it Daffy's list. And then it will take you to view it. There it is. And then if you want to, you can then set it as an assignment for that pupil so that you know that they are filling in those exact gaps that they obviously are just not getting right in their spellings. So you do that the same way, creating dates you want them to have. If you want to limit their lists or not, it will still appear on their page. Click save. And then you'll need to make sure it's just assigned to that pupil because that's their words they were getting incorrect. Okay, and then that will always be there on your lists. So I know some teachers keep a personalised list for each pupil, and every now and again they'll find 3 or 4 words in their literacy book from that week that they will just add to this list to sort of keep it going. and delete if needed if they're getting those right. So that's quite useful to have a personalised list going. Now, the second way you can set an assignment, and for this second way, you can only do this with spelling assignments at the moment, not maths, is to do an assignment set. So this means that the assignments are scheduled to appear at a certain time, so you don't have to worry about setting homework each week. So you'd click assignment set, select a group, maybe it's a spelling group or a class, where you want these lists. So at the moment, you can only choose them from the stages. There we go. And then all of the year one lists will be there. If you want to, again, limit lists, give them a requirement to do, and then click when you want it to start. Now, they all are week-long tiles. So each of these boxes are a week. If you, for any reason, want to take any away, you just simply click the little cross in the corner. Also, if you want to add any holidays, you just click the plus sign where you want the holidays. So for example, let's go after there because that's going to be around Christmas. If we click add, and then it says list required, I'm just going to change it to no objective, which will turn it black. That is automatically 1 week. So most holidays are 2 weeks. All of these are then automatically shuffled back. So I haven't had to do anything to those dates. I'm going to click another one. Select no objective. There we go. So we've got our 2-week break there, and all of these have been pushed back. You can also, if you wanted to, add your own list. So you can click choose list. I just clicked the add button there to get a new box. You can choose from your list. You can choose from your favorite lists. So you can also do that if you wanted to. And again, it gives you if you want to limit lists or not. So that's really a handy way of just having them all scheduled to appear without having to set homework each week. There we go. And then because that's an assignment set, it will show it there and it will show it there. I've got one assignment set, which you can also delete there if you needed to. Okay. Now, the next thing I will show you is Hive games. So we've done our assignments. Hive games are used a lot by teachers as a more interactive, exciting way of doing a weekly spelling test. So what happens is the teacher will create a hive and then the pupils need to have their own devices, and their own devices become where they answer, where they type in the spelling. So I'll show you how to create a hive. Okay. So to create it, you do just press the button up there. Again, you choose your list from whichever one it is that you want. I'll go for a year 2 one. And then click play. Here, you can choose the difficulty. You can choose whether you want to keep them in the normal word order that they appear on the list or shuffle them. This one says whether you want to show words on screen during a Hive game. This will be on your screen. So if your laptop is connected to the interactive whiteboard, you probably want this off, otherwise they could just copy it. But what will happen is the website will say the word and then the pupils are going to type that. You might want to have that in front of you just so that you can refer back to it if someone didn't hear it. The other thing you can do here is autoplay. Autoplay is after each word that comes up that is said, you then have to wait for all the pupils to then type their answers before the next one goes on. Autoplay means you don't have to do that. The pupils will then just be taken to the next word and the next word. And then Hub Audio, which is quite useful, means it plays word clips out of, if you want it on, it'll be the teacher hub. So if you've got your laptop connected to the interactive whiteboard, the audio will just come out of that rather than everybody's individual iPads, for example, which might be quite disruptive. But if you are isolating, you don't want this on, because if it comes out of your laptop, the other pupils at home won't be able to hear which word it is that they're meant to answer, they're meant to type. So then if you click create game, you can also show leagues if you want. So if you have your laptop on the board, it will show how everybody's doing, which is quite exciting. And then what they would do is then input that code into their account. There's a place on their account when they log in to input a Hive code, and then they join the game. And what will happen is as they join the game, underneath this window, they'll start to be listed and you'll see who's in the game and who's joined. So you know when to start. Once the Hive game is ended, so the codes are either available for 24 hours if you want to do it remotely, or they either expire after 24 hours or they expire after the game has been played. So you can give them out a day in advance, for example, and say, we're going to play this at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and the code will still be valid at 2 p.m. the next day. Once it's finished, you can click on more. This is one I've played before. And all of the users will be listed down here, and it will say what they've got right and what they've got wrong. Just like the assignments, if they've got something wrong, it will show you how they've spelt it. So that's really useful just to see that as a screenshot of how they did in their spelling test. Okay, going on to challenges. Challenges are just sort of another thing you can do if you want to motivate pupils to practice spellings. So you can create challenges that challenge classes, or maybe it's some sort of challenge within your class, pupil to pupil. So to create a challenge, now pupils can also create challenges and challenge each other, but they can either accept the invitation or not. If a teacher creates a challenge, they aren't given that option, they are just given the challenge. So maybe you want to set a challenge, challenge. You can do this again for spelling or MathShed. You can base it, and then you choose what you want to base it on. Do you want to base it on the number of games that the pupils have played? Do you want to base it on the number of correct answers or the points that they've earned, which are then determined whether they're doing easy, medium, difficult, extreme? That's how they get more points, as well as getting correct answers. It's completely up to you. Whether maybe you're wanting to motivate them to just use it more. So you want to do it for games played. When you want the challenge to end, and then click next. Now I chose maths, so I'm going to choose a times table. I'm going to do 2 to 12s. And then you add players. Now you can choose now whether you want individuals. This means that the challenge will be individuals against each other that you'll be able to see, or groups. Maybe you've got 2 classes in your year group and you want to see the amount of pupils who can get the most points, the class to get the most points. And you can do that there and it will appear. And you can constantly have a little look at the results underneath here. I can see how many games class 1 have played and class 2. So that's useful. So that's just another way. And then leagues. So challenges, they're on 0 because I only started that now. Challenges is kind of like look into the future. Leagues are something that you can use to almost, we always say, like look from the past. So challenges are the future, things that haven't happened yet. Leagues are usually based on shed scores, which they've obviously already got. Now, shed scores are really important to explain to pupils because they go up and they go down. Shed scores are from the last 7 days. So they aren't a set 7 days. They're not Friday to Friday or Monday to Monday. They're just from the last 7 days that you've been playing. So for example, if you got 30 million points on a Wednesday, those 30 million points will always be in your total until the following Wednesday, when they won't be included, because that's been 7 days. So what it is we just call it sort of like a snapshot current score to show how much they're playing and how many words they're getting correct. But that's really important because lots of pupils get very confused with them going down when they're not explained. So here you can see the shed score, and obviously the group shed score, if you're going to have group leagues, will also go down as well as up because it's based on everybody's shed score. So there we've got the maths league and the spelling league. And then we've got other things. So up here, you can display your leagues. Again, it's really important to make sure that Pupils have got different display names, just to make sure that they're anonymous. And you can do something called custom leagues. And this is when you can use the information from the past to really help you. So if you click create custom league, you can use them in two ways. You can just use them as a league to see how many the shed score of pupils in a certain amount of time, or you can also use them to look back, which I've recently learned. So with spelling, with our title, you can put your title in here. So maybe it is our league for 2. Start date and end date. So let's look at one in the past so that I can show you if you did from the 1st of November to the 1st of December, and you want to know what everybody got. If they played this, it will only show information from this list. So in that month, the pupils in the school, the total points or the correct answers they had from back then for that year 1 and year 2 full list, and which pupils you wanted. You can have a look in that way and use the past information to do sort of searches to look at schools in certain times, but you can also use it currently. To do just a league. Maybe you just want to see what the highest shed score is by Friday. Here you can do, and you can show whether you just want to have the groups in the league or whether you want a certain pupils within a group, certain pupils within a school. I did all of the school pupils last time. Let's have a look at those. You can also do this with maths. So you've got all the fluency things here that you can also choose. If I just go into my lists and select one. And then I can then type whether I want it to be total points, game played, correct answers, whatever you want your focus to be. And there we go, that will be the league, so we can keep referring back to that league. Okay, now nearly there. We have now got, I was just going to go down and show you underneath here. We've got our spelling scheme here, which is just by stages. You can find our SPAG resources up there on the top. You have also got a way to find them as well if you go down on the drop down and just click on SPAG, which are all here. And then it just takes you straight to the spelling shed things that we just previously looked at, but it's a little bit more information on our SPAG resources. And then, probably a better way to do it. And then the next one will be MathShed resources here, which you can look at through here.
Harry, so you can only obviously access those if you've paid for them, can't you? I'm assuming if you've only got access, if you only paid for Spelling Shed, you can't access the others, can you?
You won't be able to, no, the others. You will be able to access QuizShed, which is the final thing that I'm going to go through in a second.
All right.
But no, you won't be able to access MathShed unless you get a free trial. You can get a free trial, and there's some free MathShed resources.
Okay.
Yep, so those are there, and then Literacy Shed, and you'll find all the Literacy Shed resources there. So the last two things I'm going to go through are QuizShed. I'm going to go through next, and then I'll look at the game from a child's perspective so you can see what they see and what they mean. So QuizShed is something new which children can also access, and they can create their own quizzes and you can create your own quizzes. It's what we've also used to make the MathShed quizzes, and there are also some SPAG ones as well. So if we look at QuizShed, there we go, trending quizzes, if we just click on QuizShed Home, looks like this. So if we click on Browse Quizzes, these are ones you can see some teachers have made. So they've all got a unique code as well. So if you've made one and someone else wants to use it, they can access it. Children's ones, you can choose whether you want to have them private, which most do have them private so that they're not publicly searched. Now you can create quizzes, which is a new thing that I've recently learned how to do, and I'm going to show you quite in a simple way. You can use this to create quite complicated quizzes if you wanted to, but I'll just quickly show you some ways to make some simple quizzes, and so you know as well how to do it. So first of all, you click on Create New Quiz. There is a disclaimer here, so just to not upload any personal information or anything inappropriate. And you can create a title. So maybe it is adjectives. You can then add an image if you want to, and a description. Okay, and then this is my edit screen. So you can see here, there's my code. It's unpublished, so it's not in the public domain or anything yet. Right, and I can add questions. So down the side here are different ways, and I'll go through them, different types of questions. So single choice, you can also have an image and make it snazzy. Single choice will just be, they've just got one answer that is right out of a few. So I could just say something like, click on the adjective. Down here, add answer. So this is going to be the correct one. So maybe you want smooth. I'm going to add some other things that aren't going to be right, like bicycle and run. Okay, so you can see, make sure that one is correct and save. So that is a single choice. It's got one correct answer out of a few. You can then, if you wanted to, do loads of these that are really similar. You could just duplicate them, and maybe you just want to have click on the adjective and just have lots and lots of those and have different answers. So you can do that really easily. I'm going to just show you how to use other ones. The other one, multi-choice, is exactly the same. You just choose, it's more than one. So it's multiple choice. So maybe there's two that are correct. You just need to make sure those answers are selected as correct. Text means that there's an answer, but it must be a certain word. So maybe you want to have copy and type the adjective in this sentence. The shiny balloon. Okay. So they've only got one word that can be correct that they've got to type in here. So what was it, shiny? There we go. So there's only one correct answer that can be typed. Then you click save. Now the other one, the next one, so you've gone through those. Free text is, it doesn't have to be a specific text that has to be exactly the same as mine. That you'll have to review. So maybe it's an answer to a comprehension question. It's a little bit trickier than it just being correct or incorrect. Sort is good for maybe a maths one, or maybe something to do with a timeline. I know mine was on adjectives, but just so that you can see how it works. If I just say sort the numbers from smallest to largest, smallest okay, so then you can just add your answers here. So let's have 300, 3 and 30. Now I need to make sure I get these correct. So you can do them by moving them up. So it's going to be 3. So I know that those are the correct way. So this is just a way of them sorting things. Again, you can add a nice picture in there if you want. There's also the time limit, which I also didn't mention before. Difficulty here, you can choose that. That is to do with the scores. The higher the difficulty increases the score. So if you want to do sort of like a challenge question, or it's completely up to you. That one is yeah, completely. And then the next one, match, looks like this. So maybe you want to say match the colours to the objects. Add an answer, and then there'll be always one, the correct. So maybe you want to have, make sure you do the correct answers. And then they will have to move them. Okay, and then click save. And you can see that's theirs, and they would have had to have matched those. What's the other question type? Number input. So that's quite self-explanatory. That's just they need to input the correct number. So maybe what to do. They've only got one number that is correct that they can add. I am quite aware that we started doing adjectives, but I just wanted to make sure that I could show you all the different question types. So you can then play the quiz, so you can just sort of check it works. You can also generate the quiz into a worksheet. You select the number of questions that you wanted out of how many you have. Shuffle the questions if you want. And that will then generate a worksheet into a PDF. You can also assign a quiz, so then you can then do that as an assignment. So you can assign your quiz as an assignment. You can also favorite it, add to favorites. So there we go. It's quite a big tool, and it's one of the first times this week that I've used it. But it has got loads of scope to be used in lots and lots and lots of different ways, not just within maths and English. Okay, so finally, we're nearly there. I'm just going to go through the game screen. So you can look at this just as a teacher from the different little yellow buttons. So if I click play game, it's going to come up. There we go. Okay, so this is what a child's screen looks like. They've got their avatar, you've got assignments. So after that limit list button that we were talking about, after that's gone, the assignments sort of show as a little red 1 or 2, depending on how many they've got, and they can click in there and go into the assignments if they want to. You've got your challenges, you've got your leagues. This is where you would put your Hive code to start with, and then all of these will just then take you to all the different things that they can play. So Spelling Shed, they have access, if you haven't clicked limit lists, to all the different stages. And I would just be wary of that so that they're not playing spellings that are way too easy and trying to get more points. Oh, I've come out of it now. Assignments, they can practice in different ways. We've got a few different games. We've got the normal game where if I click play, they practice their spellings, building their shed score, and they choose the difficulty they want. The harder they go, the more points they will earn. And we believe that it's good for them to set their own difficulty, just to sort of have it being slightly less daunting. And then obviously they are motivated to go on to the harder levels because they get more points that way. So easy just starts off with being a word. Let me just show you. Wheel. That is read out, and it is given you the exact correct tiles. This is a phonics one here because I can see that there are graphemes on there. Whereas when you go to the harder ones, harder levels will just read out the word and then they'll have a whole keyboard. They'll just have to type it in there. So yeah, and then the medium ones will give them the correct tiles, but also maybe some other ones as well. So they've got a smaller selection to pick from, but it's still tricky and they've still got to know how to spell it. The other games we've got some different games. We've got Buzz, which is basically like Boggle, and they have to see how many words they can create. Again, you've got difficulty level. So there, and we have got a dictionary that won't allow them to submit any inappropriate words, which you'll be pleased about. The other bonus games we have is if I click on one, we have...
Sorry, how did you get onto the Buzz then?
Buzz was just in bottom right corner.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah, I can see it.
We've got Beekeeper, which is basically like Hangman, but they just lose, I think they lose flowers, or they lose bees. So this will be, if they know their spellings, for example, so they're playing it on a certain assignment, this is quite a good way, if they've played it loads, so they know the spellings that are going to come up, what this could be, and if it's a certain spelling pattern, what is definitely going to be in it. Maybe you're doing ing words, you know that's going to be in it somewhere. So they lose these flowers as they try and guess and just use that as the keyboard. This is also, I know I keep quitting here, but this is another good way of just using the settings. So if you want the music on, the letter names on or off. So I just did that by going to the pause button. I've exited that one. And then finally, the other one is missing words. So it's another way here of them learning more the meaning of the word, so using it in context. And also this has more difficulties too, so they might have multiple choice. Some might be spelled correctly, some might be spelled incorrectly. Let me just go for a hard.
He knew the book was fiction but couldn't help wondering.
So there, because it's a harder level, they've got to write fiction and they've got to spell it correctly, whereas on an easy level they have got multiple choice to just choose and click and pick the word. So that's that one. Let me go to MathShed as well. So MathShed, they've got all of the different lessons that we went through that go, and also we've got our December Advent calendar, which I know lots of people have been using, as well as your fluency skills here. So they can pick a certain times table, for example, to practice, or a certain lesson to practice. So they kind of got more of a free range when they click. Oh, let me just go back on that one. When they click inside these parts here, and the QuizShed will take them to different things on QuizShed. The bit that they don't have free reign on is the assignments, and if you limit lists, that's what they will only see. And then they've got their challenges and their leagues.